Hello smart people, Rose here. Welcome back to académiqueGust. Today for day 12 of académiqueGust, I'm gonna take you around on my iPad. So I'm gonna show you the different apps that I have currently on my iPad Pro. So let's start at the first screen. On the first screen, I have the calendar app. I also have the reminders, notes, photos, settings, Notes Plus. So this Notes Plus is basically what I use as a notebook to replace my notebooks. I use it with the Apple Pencil, and yeah, I basically take most of my notes from classes or research meetings on Notes Plus. I also have VIP Kid Teach app on which I give my courses. I'm a English as a second language teacher, so I teach English to Chinese kids. If you're interested to learn more about that, I talked about that on my morning routine. So yes, I have that app to teach English, and I use the iPad Pro to teach English. I also have Netflix, which is an app I use a lot. I tend to watch most of my TV on Netflix since I took my projector out, so that's no longer an option, and I tend to watch less TV since I've done that, but I still have the Netflix app here on my iPad. And right next to it, I have the YouTube app. That's basically the second app I use to consume video. And then I have FaceTime. I like to FaceTime more from my iPad than from my iPhone because I just put it on the stand or even in the tables on the bed, and I don't have to hold the device while I'm talking to someone. And down here on the dock, I have all the apps I use for messaging. I tend to use Skype a lot with my research advisors, Slack with some of the organizations I'm involved with, Messenger, Google Hangouts, WhatsApp. This is a third-party app that I use to be able to talk on WhatsApp on my iPad, and I have the Messages app or iMessage. Then I have Safari, which is my browser of choice. I have music, and I have Mail from Apple. So those are native apps that I use quite a lot, and I'm happy with them. On the second screen, I have this app called Duet. So you can use that app to use your iPad as a second screen. I started using it a while back before I had this particular version of the iPad, and I've been really enjoying it. Although I don't use it as much now. I just take my iPad. I don't bring my iPad and my Mac, so I have it there. Still, just in case. LaTeX, which is what we use mostly in my field in OR to write out the mathematical models, and most of the papers are written in LaTeX, but I tend to write it first on a Word editor and then I'll pass it to LaTeX because I believe it's easier to correct spelling mistakes or even grammar in a Word editor versus on LaTeX. Then right next to it, I have all my word editing softwares and presentation making and spreadsheets, and also the storage options I have. So I use Dropbox a lot, just as well as I use Drive, Google Drive, and Files. I think most of my files are on Files, which is the native files management system for the iPad Pro or even for any iOS device. And I've been really liking how Files is, but still I tend to go directly to Dropbox when I'm looking for something in Dropbox, even though I can see it from Files. But either way, those are the apps that I use to create documents or presentations or sheets or even manage those documents. Right next to it, I have all the apps I use for reading. I have PDF Expert, which was the app I was using before I found about Adobe Acrobat, and Goodreader is the app that I used from the very beginning since I started using an iPad, but then since I wanted to do more with the papers I was reading, I turned to PDF Expert and then turned to Adobe Acrobat. Next to that, I have Playbooks, which is basically an app to be able to read the books that are on Google. I have the Kindle app as well as papers. This is an app I mentioned before that I've been wanting to try to actually read papers. It's designed for the academic community in mind so that they can read and annotate papers and kind of manage their references. So I have it there so that I can play with it. Next to it, I have iBooks. I used to buy a lot of iBooks and I still have a lot of them that I haven't read, and I keep them there just in case one day I find myself with spare time, then I can read it directly from iBooks. This app over here is Day One. That's a journal. So you can take photos, you can write, you can even do voice memos on Day One. It's a very cool app if you want to start journaling paperless. I would definitely recommend that app. Then down here we have a folder with all the apps I use for académiqueRose related content. So I have WordPress, which is the app I use to manage my website, académiqueRose.com. I have YouTube Studio, which is the app I use to see how my videos are performing and interact with you guys. I have Gmail, which is where I have all the mail from académiqueRose. I read it through Gmail. I don't like to have it with my mail because then I can get caught up during the week doing things related to académiqueRose when I only work with académiqueRose during the weekends. So that's that. I have Goodreads, which is basically an Amazon app for giving reviews to the books you've read and keeping track of what you have read so far. I have Twitter, then Facebook's page, then Hotsuite, which is an app I use to schedule the posts I have for either Twitter or Facebook. I believe you can also do Instagram. It's an app that I use a lot, especially for Twitter and Facebook. Then I have Canva, which is the app on which I create most of the images that I post on Instagram if it's something with a text, mostly on the stories, and also for the thumbnails. And it's very good to work with on the iPad. Additionally, I use it for when I'm creating cute images for my research papers or anything that I'm writing that I want the image to be cute. Then I have Google Calendar, which is where I keep most of the things or schedules that I need for académiqueRose. Next to it, I have Google Chrome, which is the browser of choice for when I'm working with académiqueRose. Next to it, I have the Trello app. This app, I mostly use it to manage the content that is coming out on académiqueRose. I also use it to have it more like a system of my to-dos and things that are coming soon. I also have this folder over here, which are apps on which I can edit video, make music. This is also for making short clips, hence the name. And then I have Pixelmator, which is an app I use to edit major things out of photos. Mostly if there's a text or something that I don't want on the photo, I would use Pixelmator. And over here I have an app, Notability. That's an app that I've been meaning to try, but I still haven't played that much with it because when I started using the iPad, I started using Notes Plus because it was the best app back then. But since now I feel like it's been falling a little bit behind, so I have Notability there to play with it and hence decide what I'm gonna do with the writing app. And over here I have all the social medias that I consume on my iPad. I have Pinterest, Reddit, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Over here I have the apps that I would use if I was going on a trip. So I have Translator, Google Translate, Yelp, Maps, and GoGo Entertainment, which is the app to be able to connect to the free Wi-Fi on airplanes. Since I have T-Mobile, I get an hour of Wi-Fi on flight, so that's the app I use to be able to do that. And next to it I have the HBO app, and over here I have Procreate, which is an app for graphic design, and I've been trying to play with it and work on my drawing skills. Right next to it, I have the games folder. These are the 3 games which I've been playing on my iPad or that I use on my iPad. Love Balls. It's kind of like Snippers Clippers. You just draw things and make the balls get together. Tiny Wings, I love it on the iPad because you can play 2 players at a time and it's kind of like a competitive app, so I like it there. And World of Goo, that probably is one of my favorite games in history, right after Spyro. So I have it on my iPad to play around with it. And last but not least, all the utilities that come with Apple that I am not prepared to erase them yet from my iPad. Even though I have the option of doing it, I still think that in some future I might use them, like Apple Support, Photo Booth, Find My iPhone, Find My Friends, Tips, Contacts, Apple Store, the App Store, iTunes Store, Clock, and Camera. I don't like the idea of using the iPad as a camera, so that's why I have the camera in there. So on the last screen, I just have 2 stranded apps that I don't really know where to put them, because Giphy Keyboard is similar to the ones I use on my iPhone, so this is to be able to use GIFs or GIFs, however you want to call it, on the keyboard when you're writing to someone. And the TV app, I mostly use it to watch my previously purchased films on iTunes, and I also have season passes for Big Bang Theory, so I watch the episodes as they come out with that app. But I have it way back here because I'm still not sure with whom or with which other apps I should actually group him or it. So that's it. That's it for this video. These are all the apps that are on my iPad. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions regarding any of the apps I mentioned, leave it on the comments below. Also, if you have an iPad and there's some app that you've been using and loving a lot as a student or even as a human being, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye, smart people!